What is good, my blockchain gang fam? Thank you for tuning in. This is the Rice Crypto Show, and I'm your host, Rice. And today's episode is all about NFTs, non-fungible tokens. And I am joined by Zach Burks, who is the founder of Mintable. Now, before we get into it, this is your first time ever checking out any of my content, I do encourage you to explore my channel. Make sure you subscribe, smash that like button, hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date with my videos as they come out. And we're just going to go ahead and get right into today's video. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is Zach Burks, who is the founder of Mintable. Zach, man, appreciate you coming on the show. How you doing today?
Thanks, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I appreciate you taking the time to do an interview. I know we've had some little bit of issues because we're living on opposite sides of the world. So
Yeah.
again, thanks for the time, man, because I've been wanting to learn more about what Mintable is. I've done some exploring, and I figured the best way to find out more would be to ask the founder. So before we get into Mintable, do you mind kind of giving everybody a little bit of a background of who you are and how you got involved in crypto?
Yeah, man. I'm Zach Burks, founder of Mintable. I got into crypto. I got into, Bitcoin before it was crypto back in 2012. And I kind of found it on the internet one day. Looked interesting, didn't understand it at all, back then. And I downloaded a CPU miner. And that was back in the days when you could mine on your laptop. And, from there, kind of dived in and kept buying it, using it for stupid things, spending Bitcoin when you should be holding it. But like I said, I didn't know much about it. So over the years, I kept following along, kept buying, trading, thought of myself as a trader back then. And, once Ethereum came out, I was doing software development at that time. And once I found Ethereum, I kind of stopped for a second and I realized, wow, this is really interesting. This is like completely different than what like Bitcoin was offering. And I started learning about Ethereum development on Solidity, working with Solidity. And at that time, about late 2015, 2016, I converted all my Bitcoin over to Ethereum. And I haven't gone back. I don't have any Bitcoin now. It's all ETH. And since then, I was doing Ethereum development, just working on different smart contracts, different services, and when CryptoKitties came out, actually before CryptoKitties, there was this thing called CryptoPunks, and this was this artwork that you can buy that were like the first non-fungible items that were tokens. And then CryptoKitties came out later that year, and I was actually the first person to make money on CryptoKitties. It's a funny story, but long story short, they presented at a hackathon. I was watching the hackathon over a live stream. They said, "Hey, check out the beta." And so I played the beta. Well, everyone was hacking away at a hackathon, and I won like the first two prizes in the beta, which was like 2 ETH. And talked to Benny. I was like, "Hey, can I get my 2 ETH?" And he's like, "Damn, I didn't want anyone to win 2 prizes, but it's okay. Come meet me over at the booth by the balloons, and we'll shake hands." And I was like, "I'm in California right now," and then he was really pissed. So he ended up shooting me over the ETH, and at that point, NFTs, non-fungible tokens, ERC-721s kind of just like took me by storm. And I haven't really done anything since that's not related to NFTs. So every project I've worked on, every company has been related to using non-fungible tokens to do something. I've got a paper published. Yeah, I got a paper published with the IEEE on using non-fungible tokens and IoT devices to do like traceability and supply chains. And so it's really kind of like a passion of mine. And so I eventually made Mintable, which is like a tool for NFTs.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty much my background.
That's sweet, dude. And I think it's kind of that's why I like to ask people these questions, is because getting a little bit of a background for people. It's interesting to know that I guess you become kind of an Ethereum maximalist in a way. Kind of leaving the Bitcoin camp, not really even investing, not even holding any more Bitcoin.
Well, so being in the space for so long, I've seen a lot of cycles, and quite a while back, probably like 2016, I realized that well, actually around 2017. But I realized that Ethereum and Bitcoin are highly correlated. And I mean, if you go look at the charts, you can just see it yourself. So in terms of the risk to reward, I believe that there's less risk and a higher reward with Ethereum, just in terms of return on investment. Because Bitcoin is at 9,000 right now, and it can go to zero, but so can Ethereum, and Ethereum's at like 240. So while it's still a complete drop to zero in terms of percentile change and things like that, I think that
Right.
Ethereum can go up more, and I think that it also has a little bit more of a use case in terms of needing to spend it, use it, burning it. There's more development on it, so I wouldn't say I'm an Ethereum maximalist, but I definitely am an Ethereum first kind of guy.
Okay.
And I'm not opposed to Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's great, and I think Bitcoin's done some amazing stuff. Just like I think that you know. Modems, dial-up modems were great, and they did some great stuff for setting up DSL and then setting up, broadband and fiber. But it's just an older technology.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it too. And I mean, I definitely like what Ethereum is building, and I like the opportunities of people to be able to build dApps and things like that. It's what is it? The Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, the EEA, is the largest conglomerate in the world, and I mean, this is comprised of like some of the biggest, most major companies in the world that are involved with. I've been hearing a lot about enterprise stuff going on within Ethereum. You got Ethereum 2.0. I'm definitely interested in the NFTs, and that was the reason why I wanted to talk with you. I mean, not only I wanted to learn about Mintable, but it's a hot topic. People are really interested, and I think there's a lot of use case and a lot of value that NFTs can bring that just haven't even been utilized yet. So before we get into it, do you mind kind of telling people that might not really be familiar with what an NFT is, what a non-fungible token is exactly?
Yeah. So NFTs is kind of hard. A lot of people don't really know what non-fungible means, and I didn't know what it meant either until I learned about NFTs. But a really easy way to think about it is a dollar is a fungible item, right? You can take a dollar, and if you have a dollar and I have a dollar, and we swap that dollar back and forth a million times, right? We both have a dollar and we swap it back and forth. If we just stop randomly and walk away, none of us lose, right? You have the dollar, I have a dollar, it's the same thing. But for a non-fungible item, if you have a baseball card and I have a marriage certificate and we swap those items back and forth and then randomly walk away, one of us is going to lose, and it's not going to be me because you're now married to my wife, right? So the thing is that with a non-fungible item, it's these things that are not like kind. You can't go to a grocery store and say, hey, I have a baseball card. Can I get a bag of, of vegetables? And they're going to say, no, you got to give us a fungible item, a dollar. So a non-fungible item on the Ethereum blockchain is a token, just like these crypto tokens that you trade, except the difference is there's only one and it's unique, very similar to a baseball card or a Pokemon card. You have a Pikachu, and maybe it's a holographic one or maybe it's a normal one, and that's it, right? It's a card and there's one item. So a lot of people today, they make artwork on NFTs. They make, what they'll do is they'll make some artwork, a digital print, and then they'll turn that into a token on the blockchain. And that token represents that one piece of art. So if you own that token, you own that artwork, right? And that artwork is connected to the token through this metadata, which means that when you look at your wallet, it's going to show, the picture of that artwork there. And that's one token, just like if you owned one Bitcoin. Now, the difference is with Bitcoin, you can own half a Bitcoin, a tenth of a Bitcoin. You can't do that with NFTs. Because it's like, think of a baseball card. I can't give you half of my baseball card. That'd be ripping it in half. And so that's what it means to have a non-fungible token.
Okay, that's cool, and I love that explanation. And I think it's really cool, like some of the use cases. I mean, you mentioned artwork, collections of art, digital graphics, basically supporter donation badges. People can create business cards, event badges, tickets, and that's like I've covered some things about NFTs, but obviously not everybody watches every video. So sometimes I like to repeat things just so people can get a better understanding. But even interviewing Fluffy Pony, he was talking about. I was trying to remember the name of his he's got a cryptocurrency that deals with NFTs, but I couldn't remember the name of it. And it just was kind of drawing me a blank. I know there's some other platforms doing it as well, in addition to Ethereum, but I think it's really cool, man. What are some of the more unique use cases that you've seen, aside from what I mentioned, for NFTs?
Well, with Mintable, we're like the largest generator for NFTs. So what we do is we let anyone deploy a smart contract and create their NFT, because NFTs are a smart contract, without needing to code, right? So that's been kind of the bottleneck, is if you wanted to do your artwork, you had to be a programmer and, you know, code up a smart contract, which is hard. So we've done all that for everyone, and we have a lot of people that come through and just make, you know, a ton of different things. Some really interesting ones that we've had is, you know, you mentioned like a supporter badge for like a streamer or a YouTuber or something like that. On the other end of that, we've had a nonprofit in the Amazon rainforest in Brazil. They're using NFTs where you can like buy a tree essentially, right, as a token, and then that donation goes to help, you know, plant a tree or to protect this tree or do different things to help reforest the Amazon. Another one this is kind of super deep crypto here, but there's a DAO. A DAO is decentralized autonomous organization, right? It's a smart contract. There's a DAO that you can vote to give rights to a song that is using Argent. The song is then deployed as an NFT, and you can own the NFT, which gives you access to the song and the copyright. So it's it's a real deep rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah.
But that's a cool one. And then we have a lot of, you know, just really interesting people. Whenever, you know, a user goes on Mintable, 99% of the time they are a creator, a content creator. They have some content that they want to turn into. So we have a lot of artists. We've had business cards, like you said, which is for, you know, like media people like you when they go to a conference. If you're at a crypto conference, why give out a business card? Why not give out a token, right? So we've had business cards, we've had VR access, membership tokens, which give you access to different things, classes, tickets, also all sorts of things, man. That's the beauty of NFTs, is they can almost be used for really anything. It's just how creative can you get?
Yeah, it's just what would you like to have represented digitally, you know? So you know, like you said, it's just endless. So yeah, that's why I think this is like it's going to be such a big thing. The use case is going to be really cool. Something that I was actually wanting to get into you with, and actually I'll hold off for a second about that, but because I want to talk more about Mintable. You guys have made it. I haven't used the platform, but I've watched some tutorials. And I went through the website, and it says that you can easily mint, manage, and browse your digital items. And like you were mentioning, that you guys have created a system that allows people to create and deploy smart contracts. They can basically be walked through the entire process, and like you said, no coding is needed. I think it's really awesome that you guys have done that, because to help with mainstream adoption, like ease of use. Like I said, I haven't used it, but I do want to utilize it. And that kind of gets into what I was going to say. I interviewed Joel Comm from Bad Crypto Podcast, and
Yeah.
he had told me about something that they're doing called proof of listening, where they're awarding their listeners and subscribers with NFT tokens that could possibly be utilized to maybe redeem for physical items or just various different things. It's kind of like almost like digital dollars for a content creator that you can use as like a reward system. And when I saw them in Miami at 2 different conferences, they were doing something called proof of attendance, of being at these conferences. So it was like kind of like receiving an NFT as a way of saying, yes, I was at this event. And you know, the cool thing about these NFTs is that we don't know if they're going to have any value. It just kind of depends on what someone else finds value inside. And this kind of goes into like comic books and collector's cards, you know, that people can relate to on a physical item. Beanie Babies, how some of these things just became worth a lot of money based off rarity and things like that.
Yeah.
Going into a digital age, I can see NFTs, you know, becoming this next big thing and ongoing. So,
Definitely. I think NFTs are going to be one of the big things that drives adoption. And we've actually been saying that since like CryptoKitties came out, right? Because CryptoKitties is a great example of why it's such a big adoption driver, is because you saw it was like the largest app in, a span of a week. It had over 70,000 users. And, at the time, there's only a few 100,000 Ethereum users. For Joel Comp specifically, Joel actually he's used Mintable. He's made a few NFTs with us, and we sat down with him because what they're trying to do is really interesting, right? That proof of attendance, proof of listening, and we were talking about how he can use Mintable for that. Unfortunately, what he wanted was a little bit more unique, which we have this a lot. We have a lot of people that reach out to us and they say, hey, I want to do loot boxes, or I want to do this affiliate system within my NFT. And we're a cookie cutter system, so we try to be as broad as possible to cover as many use cases. But unfortunately, there's some that, like, having a loot box doesn't apply to 99% of the users, so it's not in the code. With Joelcom specifically, he couldn't utilize Mintable, and so we were talking about if maybe we can build something for them. And right now, what we're working on is our full launch. The website right now, mintable.app, is our beta from last April. And so we've been working really hard to, we're going to essentially revolutionize the NFT ecosystem with what we're offering. We were the first to be an NFT creator. We were the first on the internet to make you generate NFTs. We were the first NFT manager. We were the first NFT batch minter. So we have all these firsts, and we're going to hit a lot of these new firsts again here in about 90 days when we launch. We have some really exciting technology that's never been done with NFTs. We have a whole new generation of NFT marketplace. It's kind of weird to say that because it's just like Amazon, right? So it's very similar to Amazon for NFTs. And we're releasing all that, and we're working on that now. So when you go to the beta, which is live on the website now, it's been up for a year. We fixed some bugs, but we're not really kind of revamping anything or adding a lot of features because we're 100% focused on the full launch, and it's coming soon. So right now, what we have is something, and what we have coming out is just a million times better. And so, yeah.
That's cool, man. It's good to know. So, one, I will have to bring you back on once you're getting ready or as you launch, so we can get some more details about what you're actually going to be doing. And two, I'm going to be creating my own NFT, and I'll utilize the regular platform, and I'm going to have links down below so people can check everything out. And I'll do like kind of a tutorial how to with my own experience of creating NFTs, because I really like what Bad Crypto are doing. So I'm going to kind of copy some of the idea of doing these NFTs. And it was something I had thought about before, because I've got a lot of ideas that I can utilize NFTs for, and I just think it's really cool. And so I'm definitely going to do that. So I'll talk to you about that, and we'll definitely have to catch back up. But to kind of move on and keeping on in the NFT space, is there any projects right now that you're really excited about? Me personally, I just started checking out Decentraland, and I'm really digging that. I'm going to try to check out Crypto Voxels. I'm really new to these things, but yeah, I would love to hear from you about some of the things that you're excited about.
Crypto Voxels is great. They got a great team. They're constantly working on it. Like every day, they're doing updates and making it better. I remember getting onto it like a year ago, I think, at this point, and it was interesting and it was kind of weird. And I've gone back and gone back and gone back, and now it's just blowing up. A lot of it comes from the NFT artists, because they need somewhere to display their artwork, so they build a virtual reality kind of gallery and display their artwork. And now they're able to like purchase and sell things within that virtual reality, which is even cooler. Crypto Voxels is great. I've been a big fan of Gods Unchained since before it launched. Got into the beta, really played a lot of it in the beta. Haven't played so much after the complete launch and it went live. Just kind of got bored of it, actually. I'm not big on card games, but I still have hundreds of cards. I have like 500 Gods Unchained cards. Haven't sold any yet. So Gods Unchained is, of course, a big one. That's like one of the most popular ones. And there's a lot of like interesting artists and that are doing interesting things. Like Async Art just launched about, I think, a week ago, maybe 2 weeks now. And that's really interesting because what they're doing, they're making dynamic NFTs. So they're not the first to do this because we've had dynamic NFTs before, but a dynamic NFT is where the creator goes and changes the data that makes like the image, right? So it's like if you had a Pokemon card that was connected to the internet, and that Pokemon card could, put on a Santa hat for Christmas or put on Easter bunny ears for Easter, right? And so kind of making it dynamic. And they're doing that with artwork. And they also have this thing really interesting. This is the first, I think, to do this with layers. So there's like a background for art, right? You have the background, and then you have like a part of the painting that's, like the main aspect of the painting. But each one of those are different tokens. So maybe if you go to async.art, you can look at it, and you can maybe buy some if you want to collect some art, some digital art. But one of the interesting things about that is because it's dynamic and it has layers, they're the first to do that. It just means that whatever you purchase, you might purchase a part of a painting or the base underlying of the painting, but it can change. So that could be good or that could be bad, because if you really like that print and that's why you bought it, but then you wake up one morning and it's something new, you might not like it. There's some downside to that, but at the same time, it's interesting because it's like internet connected art, which if on your wall it would change when you woke up, which is kind of cool. So that's an interesting project. And with NFTs, there's a lot of projects that come out. One of the things I don't like, I'll tell you right now, is you have projects that come up. They got some interesting, like, not to be very specific, like I'm not talking shit about any one project, but, maybe a project has, some AI generated faces, or, maybe it's got some like emojis with some twerk or spin on it that makes it different, and they sell these and people buy them to trade them. I don't like that because there's like no game attached to it. The only thing that's attached to it is, hey, these are unique. And it's like, yeah, so are emails, right? Emails are unique, but I don't buy or purchase email addresses. And I just don't like that. I think that's a waste of money, because most of these projects come up, they're live for 6 months and then disappear. And everyone loses, pretty much.
Yeah, no, that's a good point too, because I definitely encourage people to be educating themselves and make sure they know what they're investing in, period. So, if someone's involved in blockchain and crypto and they're not doing their own research, then they're definitely doing something wrong. And unfortunately, people are going to fall prey to these things. As long as there's greed that exists in the world, people are going to try to find some way to be able to take money from people. So it's good that you mentioned that, so that people can look to stay away from something, because really a lot of these things, unless you're buying like a ticket for an event or something like that, you really shouldn't be exchanging a lot of money unless there's really a use case, like with the card games or something like that.
That's a good point. You did mention investing, though, and I do want to kind of point out that when you buy an NFT, I don't like the term investing. When you buy, a rare painting, you might deem that as an investment, right? But when you buy a Beanie Baby at Walmart or Target, that's not an investment, right? You don't say I'm investing in Beanie Babies. You just, you're buying these and maybe you'll resell it later. Maybe you're just going to collect it. So I think a lot of these NFT games, you're not investing, you're just collecting. So like with Gods Unchained, I wouldn't say that I'm investing in Gods Unchained cards. I would say I collected a lot of cards, just like I did when I was a kid and I had Pokemon cards, right? But I wasn't investing back then. And, when I was, 10 years old, 5 years old, my parents wouldn't say, hey, we're investing in Pokemon, right? They would just say, oh, you want to, some Pokemon cards? Here, have some. So I think that that's an important distinction. A lot of people think that they're investing in NFTs, and I would beg to differ. I think if you're going to do artwork, maybe some artwork can be deemed as an investment, but a lot of artwork also I really wouldn't call an investment unless that person's got a big following or a big desire for their art. Like with async art, that has got a lot of people that are interested in it. It's got a nice limited model, and so that I may say is just skirting the line of an investment. But at the same time, you're still just collecting, right? So
yeah, no, it makes sense. But
Yeah.
I would definitely think that, depending on what the NFT is supposed to represent, that people would look at it as an investment. And thinking that there could be a chance that these games could be popular, like Gods Unchained or Splinterlands. Somebody could speculate by just buying cards, thinking that they're going to be able to get rid of them at a higher value and make some money off of it. So ticket scalping, basically, or card scalping. Have I wanted to ask you, since you mentioned a couple of these things, have you found many NFT companies or any projects that are incorporating physical items? Are you familiar with Digitable? I'm wearing a shirt from them.
Yeah, I've heard of Digital on Twitter. They're fairly new, right?
Yeah, yeah. I've got they did something for Free Ross, and this is actually like a physical item that they've created, and it's actually got an NFT representation as well. Um, so
Cool.
they're creating physical items that have NFTs with it, and the proceeds are going to help like Free Ross. When I was in Decentraland, kind of just messing around, just kind of checking out the territory, I actually came across the Digitable headquarters there, which was near a billboard with Josie.io's artwork. And
Hmm.
you needed, I didn't have this at the time, but you would have needed like kind of a ticket to get into the Digitable office, because they have a Free Ross exhibit and a couple other things set up. And I couldn't go into the building because I didn't have the ticket. And one of the co-founders actually sent me the tickets that I needed to get in, which I haven't done yet because I haven't figured out how to go back to locations. But
Hmm.
it's an NFT, so I have to use an NFT ticket within the platform itself, which otherwise it has no
It's
purpose at
cool.
all. It's just a ticket
Yeah,
in VR to go check out
yeah.
this display. It's really cool, man. I really like what they're doing.
Isn't that weird? Like, think about in the year 2000, if you said I had a digital ticket to go to a VR exhibit, like, but no, that's cool. And I've looked at digitals a little bit. I didn't know they were doing physical items. I
Mhm.
knew they did something with, I think, Kim Bozak. I think they did
Yeah,
something with him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Steve Ward, he's a Steve Wand is a good mutual friend of both of me and Ken's. Lives in Canada, got involved in crypto early, big fan of Ethereum, goes to a lot of the conferences. I know he was at like ETH Denver and stuff like that. Um, Great guy, and he's really, really passionate about the NFT space. Probably as passionate as you are. So I might have to connect you guys. Actually,
That'd be cool, man.
I think it would be a good pairing to have them involved with what you guys are doing. Maybe because
Yeah.
I'd like to see more collaboration in the space. I think that's key to a lot of things, especially if everybody's doing something unique but can work within each other's territory and help each other out and expand. I think that would be a great concept. So
Actually, I kind of want to know more about the digital itself and know how the NFT is connected, because this is a problem with real world items. Is when you connect this NFT, you basically have a situation where you can take the NFT off that item and then sell that item, on the street corner, but the NFT is no longer attached to it. And so it's it's an interesting problem to solve, and I'm curious what they did to go about solving that.
yeah,
Um,
I'll tell you, I'll send you the link that I did with Steve. But I know that I think that there is like I think I can there's a sticker, like a hologram that I think I can get the private key off of, and once I scan it, I got the NFT, and it now comes off the item. So it's, as of now, the NFT is set inside of the physical item.
right.
I believe
But you can
that if I
still,
reveal, I can take out the actual NFT, still keep the physical item, and get rid of, let's say, the NFT on OpenSea or something like that if I wanted
right.
to.
Well, see, and that's the problem. That's the biggest problem with real world items and NFTs. You need this third party mediator, or this third party system that can track and distribute this. There's a lot of companies that are doing real world items. So, for example, there's a wine project that's on OpenSea now, and they basically have NFTs that you can reclaim on their website and get shipped a rare bottle of wine, right? And in that system, the third-party mediator is the website itself, right? You buy an NFT, and then you have to go to them and redeem the NFT like a coupon to get your bottle of wine. You can't have a bottle of wine and the NFT and then sell the NFT expecting a bottle of wine to be shipped, because there's no way to guarantee that that happens, right?
Right.
So using your free Ross example, you post that NFT for sale on OpenSea. You say, hey, if you buy this NFT, I'm also going to ship you the physical item. So I buy that NFT off you, and then you delete your account, right? There's no way for me to know. There's no mediator. It's kind of like eBay, except there's no PayPal to file a claim against. We were actually the very first project to do physical items that were redeemed as NFTs. We had a guy reach out to us very early, like a few months after we launched in April. He reached out to us and he was like, hey, I have these collectible bobbleheads, like Vitalik, and I had them made, and there's only like 25 of them. I want to put an NFT on them and mail them out when you buy the NFT. And so it was called Proof of Bobble. And we helped him build out the NFTs, and he put them on the bottom with the private key, and you would buy it on OpenSea, and then you would redeem it on his website, and then he would mail you that bobblehead with the private key and everything like that. So, it's interesting, it's a unique problem, but it's really hard to solve. You kind of have to build a centralized system. There's no decentralized way to handle that. Yeah.
It makes sense, and it's definitely, I'm sure something that somebody has thought of and is working on, because I can tell this space just moves and moves and moves. So I'll definitely keep an eye on that. And I do want to bring you back on. Like I said, once you guys are getting ready to launch the actual website, I was going to mention that the website that people see is in beta right now. Sorry about the sirens. I live right by a hospital, so every once in a while, I can't
It's
help
okay.
it.
I had some too.
Yeah.
Probably coronavirus victims going in and out.
That's so crazy. Yeah. You're speaking of other side of the world, you're in Singapore. So we talked a little bit about what's going on with the coronavirus over there. And I definitely encourage people to make sure they're educating themselves. Check out as much alternative media, independent media as you can to get a good idea of what's going on. Make sure you're cleaning your hands and being responsible. I think that's important. But before we wrap things up, dude, was there anything else that I didn't cover or that you'd like to talk about?
No, I think we touched on NFTs, and I think anyone that's listening that's new to NFTs is hopefully piqued their interest and they want to check it out more. NFTs is like a rabbit hole within a rabbit hole, right? Crypto's a rabbit hole, but then NFTs are another rabbit hole inside that. So it's a niche within a niche, and I think that it's a really exciting field, and there's countless projects that you can look into and purchase. And if you're a content creator and you want to try taking your content and put it on the blockchain, put in some economics behind it. Maybe you make it rare, or maybe you make it unlock content or offer rewards for owning it. Then use Mintable, check it out, and make a contract and see how they go sell them and see how much money you can make. I think it's an interesting field, and I think a lot of people that don't have a lot of experience with crypto or don't want to invest in crypto or trade crypto can earn more crypto by selling NFTs, which is their content. So it's kind of a really easy way to earn crypto without having to put up an investment. So it's cool. Yeah, I think more people should do that, and hopefully we pique your interest with this. I would love to come back on once we launch. It'll be a busy time, and so I'll be sure to reach out and make sure we have something scheduled, and it'll be really exciting too. So a lot of people are really going to like it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think it's such great things you guys are doing. There's so many endless possibilities with NFTs. I was really, really intimidated about the idea of trying to create one, and then finding out about Mintable and how easy you guys are making it. I'm looking forward to going through the process. So like I said, I'll do tutorial review so I can share that with people in between us doing a follow-up. But thanks, dude. I really appreciate. I will have links down below for everything that we talked about. And I do encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time ever checking out any of my content, to explore my channel. If you like what I'm doing, you can support me by subscribing, hitting that like button, commenting, and sharing. And as always, I encourage you to be the change by practicing change. And I love you all.